Episode 10, Linear Function Approximation. Last episode, we hit the wall. A million entry table for a toy problem, 10 to the 170 entries for Go. We proved that tabular methods are mathematically impossible for any real-world environment. The curse of dimensionality shut every door we'd opened in Module 2. But what if you didn't need a table at all? What if you could replace a million entries with just 10 numbers? 10 weights, learned from experience, that approximate the value of any state the agent encounters. Not just the states it's visited, but states it's never seen before. That's not a hypothetical. That's linear function approximation. It's the simplest form of function approximation, and it's powerful enough to solve problems that tables never could. Today we'll build it from scratch. In Episode 9, we saw the curse of dimensionality. As the number of dimensions grows, the state space explodes exponentially. 10 dimensions with 10 bins each, 10 billion states. A robot arm with 7 joints, 100 trillion states. A Go board, 10 to the 170. We also saw that tables don't generalize. Learning the value of one state tells you nothing about its neighbors. Every state action pair must be visited independently. In continuous spaces, that's not just slow, it's impossible. The solution we previewed was function approximation, replacing the table with a parameterized function. Today, we implement the simplest version, a linear function of features, a weighted sum that compresses infinite state spaces into a handful of learnable parameters. Here's the fundamental idea. Instead of a table with one entry per state, we define a function. V hat of S, W equals W transposed times X of S. 3 pieces. X of S is a feature vector that describes the state. W is a weight vector that the agent learns. And the dot product gives the value estimate. The feature vector X of S extracts what matters about the state. For a robot arm, the features might be joint angles, velocities, and distance to the goal. For mountain car, position and velocity. The features are fixed by the designer. The weights are learned from experience. The prediction objective is to minimize the mean squared value error. We want V hat of S to be close to the true value V pi of S. The objective is J of W equals the expected squared difference between V pi of S and V hat of S, W, averaged over states weighted by how often we visit them. This looks like supervised learning, and it is. Except we don't know the true labels V pi of S. We'll use temporal difference targets instead. That's where things get interesting. To minimize the mean squared error, we take the gradient. The gradient of J with respect to W points toward lower error. We update. W gets W plus alpha times the error times the gradient of V hat. For a linear function, the gradient of V hat is just X of S, the feature vector itself. So the update becomes beautifully simple. W gets W plus alpha times the error times X of S. We push the weights in the direction of features that were active when we got a surprising outcome. But here's the subtlety. We don't know V pi of S, the true value. So we substitute the TD target. R plus gamma times V hat of S prime, W. The update becomes W gets W plus alpha times delta times X of S, where delta is the TD error. R plus gamma V hat of S prime minus V hat of S. This is called semi-gradient TD. Semi because we don't differentiate through the target. We treat v hat of s prime as if it were a fixed number, not a function of w. Mathematically, we're ignoring part of the gradient. Practically, this makes the algorithm stable for linear function approximation. The full gradient can actually diverge with bootstrapping. The choice of features determines what the agent can learn. With linear function approximation, the value function is a weighted combination of features. If the features can't represent the true value function, no amount of training will help. Polynomial features use powers of the state: 1, s, s squared, s cubed. They capture smooth global trends but struggle with local variation. A spike in value at one location affects the entire function. Fourier features use cosines at different frequencies. They're excellent for smooth approximation and have nice theoretical properties. But like polynomials, they're global. Tile coding takes the opposite approach. It lays overlapping grids called tilings over the state space. Each grid is offset slightly from the others. A given state activates exactly one tile per tiling. The features are binary: 1 if the state is in the tile, 0 otherwise. The brilliance of tile coding is locality. If you update the value for one state, only nearby states are affected, those that share tiles. The number of tilings controls the width of generalization. More tilings, more resolution. Fewer tilings, broader generalization. And the step size is divided by the number of tilings, so each tiling gets a fraction of the update. Let's see this work on a classic problem. Mountain car. A car sits in a valley between two hills. The goal is to reach the top of the right hill. But the engine is too weak to drive straight up. The car must build momentum by swinging back and forth. The state space is two-dimensional and continuous. Position ranges from -1.2 to +0.5. Velocity from -0.07 to +0.07. With a table, you'd need to discretize these into bins, and even a coarse 100 by 100 grid gives 10,000 states. With tile coding, we use 8 tilings of 8 by 8 tiles each. That's 512 binary features, 512 weights. The agent starts with random actions. The car oscillates in the valley without reaching the goal. But as semi-gradient Sasa updates the weights, the value function develops structure. After about 100 episodes, the agent learns that states with leftward velocity at the left edge have high value because they lead to momentum. States near the right hilltop with any velocity have the highest value. After 200 episodes, the car consistently swings and reaches the goal. 512 weights solved what would need infinite table entries in continuous space. When does linear function approximation converge? On-policy TD with linear features converges to a fixed point. Tsitsiklis and Van Roy proved this in 1997. The error at convergence is bounded. It's at most 1/1 minus gamma times the best possible linear approximation error. That bound is important. It says the TD solution isn't perfect, but it's close to the best any linear function could achieve. The ratio, 1/1 minus gamma, is the price we pay for bootstrapping instead of using full Monte Carlo returns. But off-policy learning with function approximation can diverge. Baird's famous counterexample demonstrates this. 7 states, a simple off-policy update rule, and the weights grow without bound. Not slowly, exponentially. The values go to infinity. This is the Deadly Triad from episode 9, now made concrete. Function approximation plus bootstrapping plus off-policy learning equals potential divergence. On-policy methods are safe with linear features. Off-policy methods need additional tricks. Experience replay, target networks, gradient corrections. These are the innovations that make deep Q networks work, and they're the subject of our next episode.
Here's what linear function approximation gives us.
First, compression. A weight vector with d entries replaces a table with as many entries as there are states. For mountain car, that's 512 weights instead of infinity. Second, generalization. When we update the value of one state, all states with similar features benefit. The agent doesn't need to visit every state individually. It learns patterns, not memorized values. Third, simplicity. The update rule is a single line, W plus alpha delta X. The gradient is just the feature vector. You can implement it in 5 lines of code and prove it converges. But there's a trade-off. Linear functions can only represent values as weighted sums of features. If the true value function has complex non-linear structure, linear approximation will miss it. This is where we reach the bridge to deep reinforcement learning. What if instead of a linear function, we used a neural network, a function that can represent any mapping from states to values? That's exactly what Deep Q networks did in 2013, and it changed everything. Next episode, we build DQN from scratch.